Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and I'm back with another video after a long time, and this is a painting time-lapse slash tutorial of a rose oil painting. I started my YouTube channel with a rose painting tutorial, and honestly I have grown and I have learned so much more after that. I have been through a great process where I have developed as an artist, and I believe that I can make a way better oil painting tutorial right now. So I'm just recreating that rose oil painting tutorial basically, and you guys can see that I have already created the base of the background. So this is the first layer of the painting, and I don't think I will add too much layer for the small painting. So I've already done the first layer for the background, and I'm starting with the rose, and obviously the first layer goes with the darker shade. I follow this method for my own painting. You guys can follow some other method as well, but I feel like for me starting off with the shadow parts make me understand the value, the depth of the painting more. For this painting I haven't done any underpainting or something. I just drew the outline with a pencil on this canvas paper, and I also created a little bit of shadow with the pencil, and that is just the basic foundation for me for this painting. And because I have a reference picture, it's really convenient for me to follow the shadow and highlight of that reference picture and continue my painting. So you can see I have started from the inner part of the rose, and I'm sorry if you can hear some cats are fighting. I'm really sorry, it's a daily affair around my house. Alright, so I'm starting with the inner part, and as you can see I'm developing the shadow part first, and then I'm going with the highlight part of the petals or whatever you can say. So there will be two advice from my side when you are in your beginning process or learning process. First of all, in the beginning you definitely should have a reference picture. Reference picture is not just to copy point to point like a Xerox copy, but reference picture is to understand the depth and dimension of a painting, like where the shadow should fall, where the highlights should fall, and that's how you would understand how to give a painting a realistic finish. Any object in our surrounding is a 3D object, and whenever it's a 3D object it will definitely have some shadow and highlight. Basically that is what makes it 3D. So whenever we understand where the shadow and highlight should fall, we can automatically make a painting look more realistic. For an example, in this rose painting, the inner part of the petals basically is darker than the upper or outer part of the petals, just because the inner parts have less light and more shadow, and the upper parts are closer to the light exposure, and that's why the upper parts have some highlights. And that's how we can differentiate each rose petals from each other. And we can also see some petals are casting shadow on the other petals or the petals behind them. So if we can understand how to implement those shadows on our painting, we can make the painting look more realistic, because we can make the viewers understand that yes, this painting, this object has a light source. So this is where I think we should definitely need a reference picture, especially at our beginner stage. And I know there are artists who have been saying that copying paintings is not a good thing. Copying pictures and creating just a ditto painting is not a good thing for I don't know whatever reason. But in my opinion, I have learned painting by seeing other objects and copying them basically, because if you cannot learn the foundations, the fundamentals of an object, you would never be able to learn how to recreate it later on without a reference picture. So it's very important first to see and copy them in your painting, and then you will be able to create the same thing when you're not seeing it. Yeah, of course, copying someone else's painting and saying that it's your own creation is a wrong thing. But if you are taking the painting as a reference, and if you're just following the instructions or demonstration of the light and shadow, the foundation of the painting, the way the person used his or her techniques, if you just follow that and create the similar thing just for your practice and learning, this is never a wrong thing. So the second thing that I wanted to mention is layering and blending. Both the things are very, very important in oil painting, especially in the beginning when you're learning. The first thing comes is layering, which you guys can see that I'm creating the first layer, and I'm trying to layer most of the thing in the first layer so that whenever I'm putting the second layer, I would be able to understand properly where I should layer what. Now you guys can see the most of the painting is done, and I have moved on to the second layer, and I'm building up the background. The background would be nothing but very blurry, blended, different shades of green, that's it. And whenever I'm gonna move on to my rose, you guys can see the rose is almost inked down properly, and I can simply look at it and I can tell where should I do more shadowing effect, where should I put more depth, and where should I put more highlights. I'm also building up the leaves following my reference picture, and yes, I'm not copying it, but I can simply look at it, and I can decide where the highlights should go. And you guys can see there's two leaves which has some shadow part casted by the rose. So this is where the reference picture comes really handy, where you understand these type of shadows which just turn a whole painting completely into a more realistic painting. I'm just working simply wet and wet. So the wet and wet technique is to use wet paint over another wet paint. So here I'm using a lot of dark and lighter shades of red, and I'm using all of them as wet paint, and I'm just inking down my basic foundation of this rose. So coming to the water droplet part, you basically need to understand the light source, and you need to put the highlight towards the light source and the shadow of the water droplets at the opposite of the light source part. So I would link another water droplet painting time lapse. You guys can see that video and you would understand how I'm creating water droplets. So this is the finished painting. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I would upload a full version of this painting tutorial. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and also follow me on my other socials. I'll meet you guys soon in my next video. Until then, bye.